Government is unapata ina to encourage
hapa KBC Channel 1.
Nikifa utapumzika.
Me and Dingo have a son together.
Wewe ni wewe mpaka wakishikibiriti kilepuke na usikie mlio wake usikie.
Kwa sababu mimi ndio mamake huyu mtoto na mimi ndo najua uchungu wa huyu mtoto. Na wewe wangangania nini kwa Laban na hakupendi? Si umwachie Casey.
You homewrecker.
Is Casey the reason why mom left?
What?
Unadhani pakiongezwa Abel hapa mambo yatakuwaje?
Humu ndani hakuna aliyekuona na ujauzito.
I suggest you save that fight for another time, my darling husband.
Ili kupata sikiza tune hii ya Maisha ni Msimu, bonyeza *811*759#.
Maisha ni misimu, kuna kupanda na kung'oa. Maisha ni misimu, kuna kujenga na kubomoa. Maisha ni misimu, kuna kulia na kucheka. Maisha ni misimu, kuna vita na amani. Tazama, Mungu wa misimu anaenda kubadili mwaka wa kilio uwe kicheko, vita viwe amani, bomoa.
Ili kupata sikiza tune hiyo ya Maisha ni Msimu, bonyeza *811*759#. *811*759#.
Beacon Furnitures Limited. We're local manufacturers of quality office furniture, dealers in quality office equipment like fireproof safes and cabinets. Our automated state-of-the-art factories at Henna House along Enterprise Road in Nairobi's industrial area. Our showroom is at Uniafric House, Koinange Lane off Koinange Street. We are passionate believers in locally manufactured goods. When you and I buy locally made furniture, we impact on the livelihoods of our brothers and sisters. For orders, visit our showroom at Uniafric House, Koinange Lane off Koinange Street. Beacon Furnitures Limited. Jenga Kenya, tupate ajira.
My wife! Shoot him!
I want you to go to the DA's office and demand an explanation.
Good afternoon. Thank you for creating time for us. A very warm welcome to the Lunchtime News. My name is Irene Muchuma Odim. My co-anchor sign language interpretation is Ann Wangeshi. Do interact with us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter on this day that Deputy President William Ruto is pitching camp in the county of Nairobi. My colleague Timothy Kipnusu is on that beat and he will be joining us live shortly in this bulletin. But first, let's start off in the county of Kwale. The National Development Implementation Technical Committee officiated the groundbreaking of a 548 million shillings Mwachande Bridge, a pivotal colonial route connecting Msambweni and Lunga Lunga constituencies. For the past 6 years, locals have been risking their lives on a 50 meters makeshift bridge that is impossible to cross, especially during the rainy season. Our reporter Junei Karisa is on the road with the Karanja Kibicho-led committee as the principal secretaries make inroads at the coast, inspecting government projects. And now she joins us live from Shimoni, Lunga constituency with more details on the tour. Junei, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Irene, Muchuma. Of course, we are at the Shimoni port where, of course, the inspection of government project is ongoing. This morning we started in Wagals and proceeded to the Mochanda bridge, and of course, right now we proceeded to Ramisi, and right now we are in Shimoni. This is a significant tour, especially for the people of this particular area who insist that some stalled projects, of course, will be fast-tracked and be completed in due time. I'm joined by Professor Boga to just give us a brief of what today's tours entails, and going forward, of course, what this particular tour and this particular visit means to the people in this particular country.
Thank you very much. My name is Professor Hamadi Boga, the Principal Secretary in charge of Agriculture in the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives. And we are in a committee of cabinet called the National NDITC, National Development Implementation Technical Committee, inspecting projects in the coast region. So all the PSs are in the 6 coastal counties, looking at all the government projects that are being implemented. Government is an enabler of people and businesses and communities so that they can enable them to work in a good atmosphere. So in Kwale today we have visited a number of projects. Machande Bridge, which is a very important bridge for the people of Lunga and Msambweni, connecting them and giving them the ability to move goods and people around. It was destroyed in 2017, but now we have a contractor, and the contract has been given out and work will begin, and we expect that bridge to be completed in 2 years. The other place we visited is, of course, the bridge connecting the people of Munje to Funzi. Again, it's an issue of mobility. Funzi is an island, and without that bridge, people are stuck. They are not able to receive goods and services. So that is another bridge, together with the causeway, with the road all the way to the mainland, costing about 1.6 billion. Again, it's easy for people to move and also for goods to move. Funzi is a fishing village, it's a tourist place, and so this is a major investment by the government. And now we are here in Shimoni. There's been a lot of talk about Shimoni Port. This jetty where we are standing was rehabilitated, but the plan is to build a fishing port next to it, and KPA, working with other agencies like the Ministry of Water, the Ministry of Roads, the Ministry of Energy, working together to put together a plan for construction and completion of the port, of the fishing port. And before that, we went to Ramisi Secondary to look at some of the classrooms which are being completed in preparation for the competency-based curriculum. So the government is enabling people to work and learn and do business in a good environment.
One of the key projects of the president, and of course the establishment of this particular port, of course, will open up this particular place to development. This tour, if the fruits of this tour comes to fruition, what exactly should the people hope for? At the timelines that you have put so that they can be able to see you guys doing something?
I think the most important thing to note is that every time we design and conceive projects, sometimes there are challenges. And the reason why we come in such a group is to see whether projects are running smoothly or whether they are facing any challenges, so that we can help unlock, because the PSs are the ones who run government budgets, prioritize. So when we see a problem, all of us together, then we can quickly figure out how to unlock it. And I am sure with this trip, we'll be able to unlock most of this project. And as
From here, of course, Irene, we are proceeding to Vanga, still in Lunga constituency. And of course, at the top of the hour, my colleague Michael Mondiga, who has been in Kilifi County, and I will be bringing you more details at the top of the hour. But for now, Irene Muchuma, I hand it back to you as we head to Vanga.
Well done, Carissa. Now we move to the county of Kajiado. Cabinet Secretary for Tourism Najib Balala is leading a delegation of tourism stakeholders who are pitching camp in the area. This as tourism industry is breaking back to life, and Najib Balala, the Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, is currently addressing the attendants in the county of Kajiado. Let's listen in.
A world famous touristic destination. That is the benefit of tourism, as well as definitely infrastructure and other utilities are required. But when we have this world or international recognition, these things will come in. And I want to take the opportunity to invite the private sector. Accommodation and also itinerary and promotion of this area cannot be done by government. It must be done by the private sector. And this is the time we want to work with the private sector, so we can give them the opportunity to be investing in these diversified areas. Good. Asanteni sana.
Post COVID-19, how has the recovery been for?
We are going to do the announcement next week. Yeah. On Wednesday, we are going to do the performance status of tourism. Yeah. Okay.
Cabinet Secretary for Tourism Najib Balala in the county of Kajiado, where tourism stakeholders have converged this as they put efforts together in bringing life back in the tourism industry after the industry was largely affected, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. My colleague Regina Manyara is with the team, and she has been updating us this as the team down in Kajiado is visiting various historical sites as well as tourism destinations. Now to Crime Watch. Police in Embu West Sub-County are holding a young man alleged to have killed his 75-year-old grandmother while badly injuring his 80-year-old grandfather in Rungana village in Nembure location. According to the area assistant chief, Joseph Nyaga, the suspect, Daniel Gitonga, attacked his grandparents with a knife for unknown reasons before fleeing.
According to administrator, the 30-year-old suspect made his way inside the house through a window that had been left open and committed the heinous act. Some neighbors, according to the sub-chief, are said to have heard shouts from the young man coming from the homestead, but ignored them as they had been used to such acts whenever he came home drunk. The family came to learn of the incident in the wee hours of Tuesday morning when one of them came knocking at their door, only to be welcomed by groans of injured grandfather.
Mzee wa Imboma ambaye anaitwa Wamai Njega pamoja na bibi yake ambaye anaitwa Jones Kiringa Wamai walivamiwa usiku na kwa bahati mbaya Jones Kiringa Wamai akauliwa.
Tukapisha mlango, mzee wa huyo Mboma akatuambia tunjaribu sana, amepigwa na wakora usiku, apelekwa hospitali. Alikuwa amendundwa sana na visu. Alafu tukamuuliza naye mama yetu ako wapi? Akatuambia walimuua huko nyumbani.
The man is recuperating at Embu Level 5 Hospital, where he was rushed by family members and in stable condition, while the body of his wife was taken to the facility's morgue. Police later recovered the suspect's phone from the scene and a knife believed to have been used to commit the crime. Elsewhere, property of unknown value was destroyed in an interclan feud following the death of an elderly woman assaulted by a mob on suspicion she practiced sorcery.
Sasa bahati mbaya huyu mama akiwa hapo hospitali aliaga jana, na alipoaga sasa watu wakaingia na ujungu, kaanza kupiga kelele, kuangalia wanaona hao vijana wako hapa ambao waliachiliwa kwa Kasipil. Sasa ndio nikana kwamba vita ikaanza.
The face-off between the two clans along South Mugirango and Bomachoge common border at Nchoro saw several houses and sugarcane set ablaze by the combatants. Police from Etago and Kenyenya sub-counties moved in to restore calm, with relatives of the deceased woman demanding arrest of the suspects and justice done to the bereaved family.
So the villagers mobilized themselves. Then they went for those accused persons. That prompted the two villages, since we are on the border, tension came up.
The woman had gone to visit her relatives in the next clan when a group of youths stormed the house where illicit brew was being consumed, dragged her out and assaulted her. Her suspected attackers were arrested and released on bond before she succumbed to the injuries. Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Lunchtime News.
DAP political leaders are currently having a meeting at the DAP offices here in the county of Nairobi. My colleague Eden Ibrahim is with the politicians and he is advising we cross over and listen in this as a section of politicians are raising their concerns ahead of the 2022 general election.
Thank you very much. Wale wamekuja nyuma hawakusikia mkinguruma. Harambe! Itoke sauti bana na makucha. You know, ile Harambe! DAP! DAP! Ya, hiyo ndio itakuwa salamu zetu na hiyo ndio salamu hata ya Governor Tolgos in future. Nataka nichukue hii fursa. While we were here, we got some breaking news up and down, but it's since been confirmed that Regional Commissioner George Natembeya has resigned from his position as the head of administration in Rift Valley, and he has announced he's joining the Democratic Action Party. He's going to be running for governor seat of Trans Nzoia. We congratulate him for his courage. We commend him and urge him to get ready. We will work together with him to see that he realizes his goals of becoming the governor of Trans Nzoia. I'm sure watu wengine sasa mahali wako walikuwa wanafikiri ni mchezo. Harambe! Tutatembea na natembea huko Trans Nzoia. Tuko na mzee hapa, tulisema ataongea ndio tumalize. Mzee Noah Wekesa, mtaalamu wa vyama, the coalition builder, the father of coalitions. The father of coalitions. Ndio alitengeneza mambo ile wakati tulikuwa na yeye. Tengeneza vizuri mzee, wewe ndio baba wa haya mambo. Noah Wekesa amekuwa is a long serving member of parliament, wakati amekuwa mjumbe, amekuwa waziri, but the most significant role that he has played in this country, kuunda vyama, kustia coalition ambaye inaunda serikali, not just vyama ambaye inaunda serikali.
A section of political leaders from the Democratic Action Party of Kenya welcoming in George Natembeya as he intends to vie for governorship position in the county of Trans Nzoia. Aden Ibrahim will be able to bring us detailed news item in our subsequent bulletins at 7 and 9 p.m. And to security matters, the government has intensified security in Gatongora village in Ruiru by providing a police patrol vehicle to boost response and surveillance in the area. This comes months after the completion of a police station and deployment of police officers following the rising cases of murder and theft in the area.
months, there have been 3 brutal murders of farmers, watchmen and boda riders who have been killed and dumped in the same area by unknown criminals. Speaking while handing over the vehicle, Ruiru MP Simon Kingara regretted that locals have been walking for over 20 kilometers in search of services from the police. He said that with the provision of the new patrol vehicle, locals can now sleep comfortably as police wrestle with criminals who terrorize them at night.
Leo ni kuhimiza wakaaji wa eneo hili watumie hili gari vizuri, wasikisane na hawa maaskari wa eneo hili ndio tuweze kuona maendeleo.
Residents lauding the government's move say they hope that years of restlessness and sleepless nights would finally come to an end.
Ashukuru sana kwa sababu ya siku ya leo mheshimiwa wetu ametuletea gari. Hapa Katongora security ilikuwa chini sana, watu walikuwa wananyanyashwa usiku. Sasa wakati huu hatutakuwa tunanyanyashwa na wakora huku.
They vowed to cooperate with security details to root out the criminal gangs that they say have left a trail of destruction in their lives. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Mwamboi Otiende.
Needy students in Kangundo constituency will now benefit from 41 million shillings bursary money courtesy of Constituency Development Fund. Area Member of Parliament Fabian Muli says that 14,000 applications had been received, saying each applicant will get support from the kitty. The Kangundo legislator called on county government and poor students in the entire county, saying most parents have been hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic. Among the beneficiaries will be the university students, secondary, both day and boarding schools, tertiary and colleges from the constituency.
Tumesema kila mtu kuanzia day school, boarding na college na university mpaka to make sure tutahakikisha wamepata pesa yao ya bursary. Na ile kilio ingine tuko nao ni kuomba county government, nyinyi pia mkiwa kwa county government muangalie, mkae chini kama MC wetu, muambie governor appropriate more bursary for our students. Especially saa hizi wazazi wamechapwa sana na COVID, biashara zimeenda chini. Sisi viongozi tushikane tupata pesa national government, tupate pia county government kwa school fees ya watoto wetu.
Elders from the Somali community are calling on the immediate cessation of Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi's directive to have camels belonging to the community herders forcefully evicted from Meru County. The elders termed the directive as hateful and insightful, saying every Kenyan has a right to live in any area of their choice. The elders spoke at Kambi Asharaf along the border of the two counties, where they called on the relevant authorities to launch investigation into the county boss directive and take appropriate action.
Flush out the Somali community herders from the Meru area bordering Isiolo County began 3 days ago, with herders now decrying physical harassment by law enforcement officers. Over 1,600 camels are said to have been displaced since the operation ensued.
Tunatuma requests kwa NCIC waweze kumsummon Governor Kiraitu Murungi kwa kuorder hiyo insightful remarks ambazo imesababisha this conflict escalate.
The elders now want investigations done into the governor's directive, which they are terming as insightful and hateful.
Tukae chini tujaribu kutafuta suluhu na tuone kila mtu apate namna ya kuishi, kwa sababu sisi wote ni wa Kenya na ardhi najua ni chache na kila jamii iko na right ya kuishi kulingana na katiba wetu ya nchi.
They have vowed not to move away from the area, which is a subject of border dispute between Isiolo and Meru counties, claiming that their fathers had also grazed in the same area since independence. Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
The Busia County Assembly intends to cash in on millions of shillings from truck parking fees for vehicles crossing to neighboring Uganda. The Busia County Assembly Ad hoc Committee on Revenue wants the county to establish parking spaces for trucks and buses to avert congestion at the border points and at the same time earn revenue in return. Vehicles plying the Busia-Malaba route might be forced to adjust their budget upward if a proposal by the county government of Busia to have bus and truck parking areas established is implemented. The initiative will not only avert congestion at the Kenya-Uganda border points, but also to cash in on millions of shillings in revenue collection.
What you bring is what is being received. Which kind of structure is that in revenue collection? I wanted just to understand, is there a structure on revenue collection? And it has been established there is no structure. Tomorrow, even if we employ another person, he will go there. The way he feels is the way he collects revenue.
The region's revenue officer, Valentine Ouma, says the county government has failed to collect 100% revenue from drivers due to lack of designated place for trucks clearance.
I believe what he has expressed, because it is the best and the genuine position as far as revenue collection is concerned.
According to Ouma, if the proposal to have parking spaces go through, then vehicles passing through undersigned entry points will have no alternative. A section of human rights defenders in Nakuru County have raised an alarm over the rising execution of women rights defenders in the country, led by Center for Enhancing Democracy and Good Governance Programs Manager Paul Masese. The defenders have condemned the death of Elizabeth Ibrahim Ekaru, who was allegedly murdered in Isiolo County on 3rd of January 2022.
The death of Elizabeth Ibrahim Ekaru, a human rights defender from Isiolo County, continued to raise more questions than answers. Ekaru was allegedly stabbed to death by her neighbor on Monday, 3rd January 2022, while attending a burial in Kambi Gabra in Isiolo County. The mystery behind her death is yet to be unraveled, but the suspect is currently in police custody, awaiting to be arraigned in court. The incident has since been condemned by a section of human rights defenders in Nakuru, who are raising concern over what they term as violence being meted on women human rights defenders in Kenya.
The death of Elizabeth Ekaru comes at a time where we have experienced increased femicide in Kenya, especially of human rights defenders. So this, we colleagues in Nakuru, we call on the state to ensure the protection of human rights defenders in the course of their work.
Ekaru's death coming in the wake of an ongoing probe into the death of Joanna Stachbury, a human rights defender and environmentalist who was allegedly murdered for standing up against building in Kiambu Forest. Human rights defenders are now calling on a fast tracking of investigations into what they term as a rising trend in the murder of women human rights activists.
The Office of the President, through the Director of Public Prosecution and Inspector General Office of Police, to give an update and accountability on the progress of all femicide cases in Kenya.
We can only remain optimistic that the suspects will eventually be convicted, because if they are not, the tree of impunity will be watered. We wait with a bated breath to see that day when the court convicts the murderers of human rights defenders.
They also want the Office of the Attorney General to fast-track the review and adoption of the Human Rights Defenders Policy, a tool designed to give guidance of the work of all human rights defenders and their protection by the state. For Lunchtime News, I'm Safin Aching Ouma.
A section of women leaders under the umbrella of African Women Leaders Network has condemned the inflammatory utterances made by a section of the political class in the recent political gatherings. Addressing the press, the women say such sentiments could divide the country into ethnic lines. Led by the chairperson, Jennifer Riria, the women have called on relevant institutions to ensure action is taken against those involved.
Kenyans cannot afford to have politicians employ inflammatory language or whip ethnic tensions. We remind our people that whenever political violence erupts, it is women, children, elderly, and persons with disabilities, among other vulnerable categories of society who suffer most, they bear the brunt. This recklessness must stop. History will judge us harshly if we destroy the only heritage that we have, that is our Kenya.
Glad you're watching the Lunchtime News. Quick acknowledgements. Bush Nash, you're saying you're watching KBC Channel 1 from Afghanistan. Caroline Oiche, you're watching from the county of Kisii, and you're saying keep up the good work, KBC. We do appreciate. We are taking a short commercial break. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.
Development follows roads. Whenever a road is opened, the economic activities are always part.
Tumefurahia sana kwa president wetu juu ametutengenezea hii barabara. Hata mashamba yetu sasa itakuwa na value, na hiyo tumeshukuru sana.
Sisi ndio tuna build the country. The future is in our hands.
Yote haya kwenye KBC Channel 1 Ijumaa saa 2:30 usiku.
Tusirudi nyuma kwa mipaka na nchi kufungwa. Tusirudi kwa biashara na shule kufungwa. Kwa kutoweza kukutana. Kwa kutengana na tuwapendao, tusirudi nyuma.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Ili tuendelee na maisha vizuri.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge,
pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge,
pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Ili tuendeleze maisha bora kwa ajili ya wapendao, nchi yetu na usoni wetu, kwa ajili yetu sisi sote. Pata chanjo, kaa chonjo, kuhakikisha nchi yetu na uchumi wetu umestawi katika uwazi. Tusirudi nyuma.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now to the county of Samburu, Wamba community in Samburu East has taken over the responsibility of supplying water to the local town. This is after Samburu County Assembly endorsed a petition from the community seeking to take over water distribution services from Samburu County Water and Sanitation Company, Sawasco.
In the petition, the community had accused Sawasco of allegedly failing to supply clean water for domestic use. The community added that the company failed to procure water treatment drugs and repair busted water pipes, a situation that has left them with dry traps for 2 years.
Ni haya maji mashafu ndio watoto wanaikunywa nyumbani na wanahara. Pia unaona hii maji sio supu. Hii ni maji yenyewe na hakuna dawa ambayo tunaiweka ndani ya hii maji. Mtoto anakunywa akielekea shuleni, baadaye analetwa hospitali kwa sababu hii maji mashafu.
We are not fighting with the county government. No. Sisi tunataka haki yetu.
Na nafikiri wananchi wa Wamba wako wazuri sana. Tata hakuna siku tumebeba matawi kusema haki yetu.
However, Samburu County Chief Officer in charge of water Sam Nakope opposed the development, saying it was against the law.
We expected the people of Wamba to be patient enough until the process is concluded and the certificate has been issued and full autonomy has been attained, and then the full handover is done.
At the same time, Wamba Town Water Supply Services Interim Board has been formed with its chairman Jonathan Lepora, promising that the board will work with the county government to improve services.
Sisi tunafanya na wananchi, tumekubaliana na wananchi kwamba tutakuwa na mipangilio ya kufanya mambo zetu pamoja na wao. Tutakuwa na customer relations ambayo tutakuwa pia tunawatembelea na kusikia vile wanasema, na tutakuwa accountable kwamba chochote ambayo inapatikana itakuwa tuna share na wao wanajua.
Samburu East Member of Parliament Jackson Lekumontare said the decision will ensure that water shortage woes are addressed.
Sisi tunaumia sana zaidi tukiwa na shida ya maji. Tunasema watu ya project ya water watu angalie na project yenye wanaangalia masilahi ya maji.
Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
Residents in Ruiru, Kiambu County are set to enjoy improved healthcare services after completion of a second wing at Ruiru Level 4 Hospital. The 65 million shillings facility, named after President Uhuru Kenyatta, will accommodate 154 extra beds as compared to the previous 46-bed capacity facility.
Break 1, 2, 3. Asante sana.
The official opening of the Uhuru Kenyatta wing at Ruiru Level 4 Hospital in Kiambu County was welcomed with songs and dance by locals. The 65 million shillings facility was an initiative by the Kiambu County government aimed at improving access to healthcare services among locals.
Nilikuja hii Ruiru 1992. Na 1992 wacha niseme hiyo hospitali ilikuanga tu na rumu moja ama mbili.
Ruiru watu wanalipa kodi. Kwa hivyo wanatakiwa hata wao watumie rasilimali ya serikali kama wale wengine, ila si kwenda kwa wengine.
Kiambu Governor James Nyoro, who spoke while he commissioned the facility, asked locals not to shy away from seeking health services.
Tuko na old wing ile ilikuwa zamani, na tuko na Uhuru Kenyatta wing. Na sasa kama tuko na Uhuru Kenyatta wing, it can never be a simple wing. It has to reflect the presidential powers. So inside here are the most modern equipment ambao itasaidia sisi watu wa Ruiru.
The new theatre facility will scale up operations to over 400 people in a month, a move that will save locals the agony of having to travel to far-flung facilities for health services.
We had only 40 beds, very, very old beds. The modern beds here are 150, and we have therefore increased our bed capacity to 200 hapa Ruiru, mahali ambapo tuko na population ya over 600,000 people. Hakukukuwa na hospitali, kulikuwa na dispensary, na tumekuwa na viongozi.
The county plans to expand Ruiru Level 4 Hospital to a Level 5 in the nearby future. Purity Museo, Lunchtime News.
In our weekly news feature segment, County Fact File, we cross over to the northeastern part of Kenya and take a closer look at Mandera County.
Mandera County is located in the northeastern part of Kenya. It borders Wajir, Ethiopia, and Somalia. There are two ecological zones in the county, namely arid and semi-arid. Up to 95% of the county is semi-arid, with dense vegetation consisting mainly of thorny shrubs and mathenge bushes along the foot of isolated hills and fallow land. The county headquarters are in Mandera. The main economic activity in the county is pastoralism, contributing approximately 72% of the total household income. Cross-border trade, artisanal mining, beekeeping and irrigation-aided agriculture are the other viable ventures. Beekeeping is gaining popularity in most parts of the county, while irrigated subsistence agriculture is practiced along the Daua River. The common breeds of livestock reared are goats, cattle, camels, sheep, donkeys, and chicken. Mandera County has a population of 867,000, according to 2019 Kenya Population and Housing Census. It has 9 sub-counties: Mandera East, Mandera West, Banisa, Mandera North, Lafey, Mandera South, Kutulo, Arabia, and Kiliwehiri, covering the county's 26,000 square kilometers. The county has 6 constituencies, including Mandera North, Mandera South, Mandera East, Mandera West, Banisa, and Lafey. The first governor of Mandera County to date is Ali Ibrahim Roba. Mandera County has 176,000 registered voters according to IEBC 2017 records.
Time for Channel 1 Business News. Kenya Power says it has identified the technical hitch that plunged part of Nairobi into darkness yesterday. The utility firm says engineers from the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company are repairing the high voltage power line and expects power to have been restored by this evening. The outage affected Nairobi City Center, Westlands, Kileleshwa, Syokimau, Langata, Hurlingham, Embakasi, Athi River, Kitengela Industrial Area, and Jamhuri. Into other news, the National Irrigation Authority has facilitated the rehabilitation of 15 earth dams, the latest serving the 4 wards of Mwingi West, with the aim of providing water for domestic use and irrigation. Area leader says plans are underway to increase this number in order to boost food security and encourage farming in arid and semi-arid areas.
The rehabilitated dams were constructed in 1920 during the colonial era and have not been in use for decades so far. The National Irrigation Authority notes that each dam has a capacity of 80,000 cubic meters and will provide at least 80 million liters of water for the locals at a time.
This is a dam which is going to accumulate over 80,000 cubic meters, and it is going to help more than 5,000 households.
Kuanzia mwezi wa 4 hii damu itakuwa na maji na watu watakuwa wanafaidika sana kwa kulima na kunywa maji.
If you look at the Big Four agenda, irrigation is at the center of the Big Four. Because the first agenda is food and nutrition security. You give somebody water, they have enough food for their use.
The National Irrigation Authority says the latest dam at Nzawa will have a cattle trough for livestock and a drop point for locals to use for domestic use and irrigation.
Cost of the dam is 19.8 million, and we are happy with the progress of works that we've seen here. Our call to the people of this area and the beneficiaries is once we finish this water pan and harvest water, they use it for the sole purpose of irrigation.
National Irrigation Authority Communication Manager Dan Zonzo challenged locals to use the water resource from the dams for food production. Locals have lauded the initiative, saying they will no longer have to trek kilometers in search of water.
Water pans comes to support those who don't have natural sources of water, like rivers or those who are not near lakes that can be used for irrigation. And therefore, our duty is to ensure we avail water to these people, to Kenyans, from all walks of this country, to empower them and undertake food production so that they can be self-sustainable.
Reporting for Lunchtime News, my name is Ibak Said.
The fishing community of Lake Naivasha will not be subjected to the annual fishing ban this year despite the dwindling stock at the lake. Nakuru County Governor Lake Nyanjui says massive restocking will replace the annual ban in a move that is aimed at minimizing jobs losses.
Last year, fish prices in Lake Naivasha dropped by 50% as fishermen grappled with limited markets due to lockdowns and closure of bars and restaurants. However, after the curfew and other COVID-19 restrictions were lifted, the lake has witnessed increased fishing activities that has seen the stock dwindle. Despite this, the county government is adamant that it will not reintroduce a fish ban as a means to restock the lake.
Ya kufunga lake miezi 2 miezi 3, wacha county tumie pesa zake, tunaenda tunanunua fingerlings, tunakuja tunalete kwa lake ili kila wakati watu waweze kujimudu kimaisha.
The devolved unit intend to curb illegal fishing and undertake massive restocking to increase fish volumes in the lake.
Tajiri wa Naivasha ni hii lake. There is no Naivasha without the lake, because the hotels will not be there, the flowers will go. Na population ya Naivasha ile inategemea kule ni kubwa sana.
This is the latest attempt yet to restock the lake, after last year's attempt by the national government to increase the stock by introducing 100,000 fingerlings in the lake. Lake Naivasha produces 2,287 metric tons of fish annually. However, the declining fish stock in the lake will further increase the fish deficit in the country that currently stands at an average of 350,000 metric tons. Benson Rioba reporting for Lunchtime News.
Now, 1 in every 61 organizations globally was impacted by a ransomware attack each week, with those in Africa experiencing the highest number of attacks in 2021 across 5 surveyed regions. According to a report by global IT security firm Point Software Technologies, across Africa, the average number of cyber attacks increased by 13% in 2021.
According to the Communications Authority of Kenya, Kenya faced the second highest number of cyber attacks in Africa after Nigeria, with 32.8 million attacks in the first 6 months of 2021, indicating that the country is increasingly targeted as internet penetration and internet device availability grows. Statistics from Checkpoint Technologies further shows that organizations in Africa continue being hardest hit, with the region suffering the second highest volume of cyber attacks last year at an average of 1,353 weekly attacks per organization, followed by Latin America with 1,118 weekly attacks per organization. The final 2 regions of Europe and North America recorded the least cybercrime with 670 and 503 weekly attacks per organization respectively. The report states that the education sector experienced the highest number of cyber attacks with an average of 1,605 attacks per organization weekly, an increase of 75% from 2020. The government and military sectors had 1,136 attacks per week, a 47% increase, followed by the communication industry that had 1,079 attacks, a 51% increase. However, experts say to safeguard against these constant attacks, organizations should seek a single solution that can cover all attack surfaces and vectors, apply security patches, ensure up-to-date and maintain security patches across all systems and software. Alan Aoko, Lunchtime News.
Across the borders, still in the business world, the World Bank has warned that the global economy faces a grim outlook as the aftershocks of the COVID-19 pandemic continues to weigh on growth, especially in poor countries. The World Bank's latest forecast predicts global growth to slow to 4.1% this year from 5.5% in 2021, attributed to coronavirus threats, government aid unwinding, and an initial rebound in demand fading. Here now are the details of this and more across the globe.
The World Bank says by 2023, economic activity in all advanced economies such as US, Euro area and Japan is likely to have recovered from the hit it took during the pandemic. But output in developing and emerging countries is expected to remain 4% lower than it was before COVID struck. World Bank President David Malpass blamed stimulus program in the richest countries for worsening the divide by driving global inflation. While officials in many countries, including the US, are now expected to raise interest rates to try to rein in price increases, Malpass warned higher borrowing costs could hurt economic activity, especially in weaker economies. Meanwhile, climate change and its effects on the globe are becoming ever more present problems. In Mexico, where the effects are already being felt more strongly, the response of the government and society is more vital than ever. Mexico saw 117 landslides over the course of 2021, the most in a decade. As the country experiences more severe weather conditions with extreme drought in some regions, torrential rains in others, and increasingly intense hurricane seasons, climate change already appears to be having a serious impact. As the effects of climate change become more real, it is Mexico's most impoverished who may suffer the most. Finally, rising cost of living is hitting Sri Lanka's hard, and cooking gas cylinder prices have almost doubled. The soaring cost of essential items, particularly food, means they are suddenly struggling to make ends meet. Sri Lanka foreign exchange reserves dropped to around $1.6 billion by the end of November, only enough to pay for just few weeks of imports. As a result, the government has been forced to restrict the import of several essential commodities in a desperate bid to hang on to its vital dollar reserves. This move, combined with increasing fuel and freight costs, has pushed the price of essentials such as milk powder and rice much higher. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mtai.
Let's get to the field. Time for Channel 1 Sports News, and Mali will be looking to get off to the right start in Group F of this year's edition of the Africa Cup of Nations when they take on 2004 champions Tunisia, while Mauritania will take on Gambia in the other group match. In other match, two-time champions Ivory Coast will get their Group D campaign underway when they clash against Equatorial Guinea. Meanwhile, Guinea-Bissau missed a late penalty as they played out to a barren draw against Sudan in their Group D opener match.
Midfielder Pele saw his 82nd minute spot kept out by Sudan goalkeeper Ali Abo, with Piquete striking the bar on rebound. Abo Achin had been adjudged to have fouled Steve Ambry inside the area. Guinea-Bissau's Joseph Mendes also hit his post with a first-half header, and Frederick Mendy saw an effort cleared off in the line late on. The result means Guinea-Bissau have failed to score in each of their past 5 Nations Cup matches and now face an uphill battle to reach the knockout stage for the first time. Sudan, who were appearing in the tournament for the first time in 10 years, seemed content with a point at full time, with interim manager Burhan Tia managing the 1970 champions for the first time in a competitive match. Sudan will face Nigeria in Group D on Saturday, while Guinea-Bissau take on Egypt. Meanwhile, Mali will be looking forward to keep their hopes in the ongoing African Cup of Nations competition when they take on Tunisia. In other matches set for today, Equatorial Guinea will take on Ivory Coast, while Mauritania will play Gambia. Daniel Mwendwa for Lunchtime News.
Chelsea will be keen to defend